microphone's on.
Good evening and welcome to Law Talk, the show that brings the news, the Constitution, and the events of today to your home each and every month. I'm James Barrett, and with Dan Kotke, we are here tonight going forward. Dan, what are we covering tonight?
All kinds of exciting topics. Jim?
Well, I understand we're talking, our first topic is
Phony
scandals.
Right.
So, you know, that's such a it's kind of a misleading term.
You had to explain it to me.
And well, you want me to try
didn't know.
again? And try and see if we can get on the same page on this one.
I think we're on the same page.
Okay,
really.
Dan, tell me what's a phony scandal.
Well, it sounds like it's... what I said to you was, isn't it a real scandal? Right?
And I said, yes, it is a real scandal, but unfortunately, there's a political push to say they're not real scandals. It's like, let's move on. There's nothing here to look, nothing here to see, so let's move on. And some examples of those are Benghazy, the IRS preying on the 503(4) non-profit Tea Party corporations. And then there's the NSA, where there's allegedly a large network coming into your life, into my life, every single day that we're on the phone, in the house, out in front, in the car. No matter where we are, there seems to be the NSA, and that's another phony scandal. But then there's also the preying on the correspondence, first the AP, Associated Press, and then James Rosen from Fox News, where in fact him and all his phones, his whole family, and his parents were bugged, just because he was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was all bugged because he was reporting things about the NSA scandal, the Benghazi, and the IRS.
Well, of course, he's an enemy combatant.
He's an enemy combatant.
So he has to be monitored.
So I have a question. Do you think that's legal, Dan?
Doesn't sound legal to me, no.
Well,
no, and so I actually don't watch the political news enough, so I actually didn't know all this stuff.
Okay.
And, you know, my thought, I didn't understand why the phrase phony scandal was even being used. But it makes more sense now. Now, it's also true that the media likes to seize on anything that makes media.
Correct.
Okay, so when you use the word phony scandal, there's multiple meanings of the word.
Correct.
But anyway, I didn't know all this stuff about intercepting...
your phone? Your communication?
Yeah.
Are you talking about the NSA scandal?
No. Talking about the IRS sharing confidential information. I never heard any of that. You know, that pisses me off.
Well, guess
And
what?
it should.
Picture this. Yeah. Picture if you wanted to start a nonprofit, and the first thing you do is get a, hi, I'm from the SEC, because I understand that you're involved in stock transactions, and then, oh, hi, I'm from the FTC, because I understand you're thinking about communication systems.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I'm here just to talk to you because I'm from the EPA, and the property you own in Northern California actually looks to be an illegal well that we believe you drilled. And now you have all those groups knocking on your door, not realizing the only reason those groups are even coming to your door is because somebody at the IRS said he's starting a nonprofit that has the word Tea Party or Patriot in it. Now, how do you feel about that?
Improper. Against the law.
It's not against the law, but you know what is the law?
No, I think it is against the law for the IRS to be sharing
private information from a taxpayer.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, it's not just that. You know who else is in this hit parade of various organizations is the DEA. So now there is people investigated in the nonprofits that had DEA coming, asking them about where they bought their boat, where they bought a car, saying, where did you get the money to do that? Now, it seems a little oppressive to have agency after agency after agency coming to your door just because you have a nonprofit called the Patriot Tea Party.
Yeah.
Why? Is there a reason for that? What's your opinion, Dan?
Well, my opinion, to step back a little bit, is like we were discussing. The IRS, works for the king, works for the president. It's part of the administration. And we do have a very partisan government. And it's no secret that our government is, many people say it's just completely non-functional because of partisan lines.
I agree with that.
And so, all this stuff about the IRS, I was always thinking, well, this is business as usual, and there's no surprise here. Move along, move along.
That's right. And that's what the mainstream media would ask you to do.
Yeah.
Remember when you were saying I hadn't really heard that much about that?
Right.
Well, that's because, funny enough, all the main NBC, CBS, ABC does not do stories on this.
Yeah.
And the only time you see it is sometimes on CNN. They'll take a little bit out of the corner and they'll feed you enough to make you wonder. But you have to look at some other media. You have to look at internet media. You have to look at some other cable media to even catch any of this going on. And you know why? Because it seems as though the freedom of the press is limited to who's in power.
No surprise there.
No surprise there either. So as we look at this, we go, of course, a common person, or even the uncommon. Dan, you're not an uncommon person. You're a very successful young man with a whole future in front of you, and what do you got going? You know what you got going? You just want to live your life, and you want to have a good life, right?
Yeah.
I want to live my life and
I
have
just
a good
want my 503c application
That's
approved.
correct.
Thank you very much.
But did you ever get it approved?
No.
Okay.
So
that seems to be part of the problem.
I shouldn't have been talking about the T that I wanted.
Yeah, that's correct. But see, here's the thing. You are correct. Partisan is not the way the business gets done.
Right.
We need to reach across the aisle.
Yeah.
And I am shocked about both sides of the House, both sides of the House, Senate and House, and both sides of the aisle looking at each other saying, hey, we're not going to even deal with you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That's gridlock.
Yeah.
What are we supposed to do?
Well, it's not about law. It's about just getting along. I mean, historically, you look at the politicians who have been really successful. They, like Bill Clinton, just to pick one, he had an amazing skill for
reaching across the aisle.
Connecting with people and finding common goals and values and getting agreements.
Yeah. Well, Bill Clinton's an excellent example because he was a senator, and then he was a governor, and then he became president. And he was kind of a middle of the road, politically. He was a Democrat, but he goes, the only way you get deals done is reaching over.
Yeah.
You don't just draw the line in the last 20 years. George Bush ran into his problems. Our current president's running into his problems. But Bill Clinton, because he did reach across the aisle.
Yeah.
Now, did you hear a lot about scandals besides the obvious ones with Bill Clinton? Did you hear about the IRS targeting people? Did you hear about any of that?
No, it was all that blue dress.
It was only the blue dress.
Kenneth Starr.
And you know what? That was it.
Yeah.
And then the rest was.
But that totally dominated the nation.
I know, but that's silly compared to the fact that the whole rest of the nation was operating pretty successfully.
Right. Right.
And I know people are hearkening back in their minds to a time when we can get back to people cooperating.
Did Bill Clinton use the phrase phony scandal?
No, but he did say, I did not have sex with that person or that whoever.
Right.
But the blue dress came out of the closet.
Right.
And unfortunately, it had a stain.
Unfortunately.
DNA. But anyway, but the fact of the matter is, when we talk about phony scandals, that's only one half of the political elite saying these are phony because they don't help. And like I said, Benghazy, the IRS, the NSA, and the correspondence, the wiretapping, those are all issues that under any other regime would be close to totally indictable, impeachable. But in this regime, unfortunately, we have a press that's asleep at the wheel, or chosen to be asleep at the wheel, and as a result of that, we can't really find out what's going on. So what's our second subject for tonight? I know we're moving on in the same
moving
vein.
Right along. Well, anyway, so that was a good summary.
Yeah, but we're talking about something that leads right into this, and that's the Fourth Amendment, isn't it?
Yes, Fourth Amendment now.